This ep, I have the pleasure of interviewing my grandma. Now, for context, I grew up with her. For at least half the week growing up, before primary school, I lived with her. Now, we would spend all day roaming the shopping centres of Melbourne's eastern suburbs, and we would just be running errands, going to the movies, window shopping, and just generally me getting spoiled. That was basically the makeup of my early childhood. Now, later, they moved to Port Douglas, which is a resort town in the tropical northeast corner of Australia. And I would go up there all the time growing up, often on my own, at least once a year. And even when I was 20, I actually lived with them for 6 months. That was a hugely pivotal time. That was where I quit uni. That was where I started freediving, all the rest of it. So it is no understatement when I say grandma is my second mum. Now, she is currently battling pancreatic cancer. So this is part one of her story. Grandma.
Yeah,
Full name what? Leona Joy Brown?
that is my full name. And I think I've been saying that and my date of birth that many times in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
But
But I think that's your name speaks to, I don't know how your parents figured it out, but your middle name there, that's pretty good, isn't it?
I guess
Yeah.
I just used to say to them, I must have been a joy to the world. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, what's been going on? Like, I was
well,
about to say before, I feel like you're someone who, the reason I've started this podcast is because I am trying to figure out my own story in life.
yeah,
And I like the idea of telling my story and telling it to people. And I feel like other people have that as well, but
right.
don't necessarily aren't so forthright in telling their stories and imposing on people. It feels a bit maybe egotistical or whatnot. So this podcast for me is gonna, I hope, remain a place where together me and an interesting individual of my life can tell their story, how they want to.
Yeah. I think what's happened to me over the last 18 months is something that I would like other people to know that might end up going through it
Mm.
or be in the same position. But basically, we're now at my youngest daughter Sam's house in Elwood, 18 months after I was first diagnosed. And we're here now because I'm now starting my second round of chemo. And 18 months ago, which was roughly May last year, so much has happened. I first got bad lower back pain, and that went on for quite a few weeks. And then I started vomiting, and then I thought, no, there's something really happening here. I went to the doctors. I got misdiagnosed and given a whole lot of tablets. And I went home that night, and I thought, well, I don't think the doctor got that right. And it wasn't until next morning
For the lower back pain.
Yeah, I just felt there was something more than what she thought. And the next morning, about 5 o'clock, I was in such agony and I was vomiting that I rang an ambulance to come and get me because my husband couldn't drive and I was not capable of driving. I was so ill. And the ambulance took me to our local Mosman hospital, where they kept me there for a few hours testing, and then said, we're going to call an ambulance and take you down to Cairns Hospital, which happened. I had to wait all day. It happened late that night. They took me down to Cairns, and I got diagnosed in Cairns Hospital with pancreatitis.
Mm-hmm. And what is pancreatitis?
Well, yeah, it's the pancreas. I don't know exactly what it is, but it was the pancreas inflamed and not working as it should. I understand it's a bit like a gallbladder. It's like a sieve for the food, and your liquids goes through your gallbladder, then it goes through your pancreas. And well, I'd had my gallbladder out about, I don't know, 30 years ago.
Mm.
And I'm often wondering whether maybe because I didn't have my gallbladder, that was maybe a reason why I ended up getting this.
As in the gallbladder and the pancreas are
Well,
both sieves
looking
and
at, yeah,
filters?
the gallbladder is above the pancreas. So I was sort of looking at a map of the body and seeing how it all worked. And the gallbladder was sort of sitting above, but mine totally went. These days they do a keyhole surgery and they'll take out the gallstones, but they don't take out, usually don't take out your whole gallbladder. But with me, they did. They didn't really need to because I now had a tiny little gallstone, but they took it all out. So I have put it to a few of the doctors. Could that be the reason?
So the pancreas is then for the last 30 years having to work double time.
Yeah, yeah. And the doctors don't know the answer. And I've found that all the way along that there's so much they don't know. Everybody's different. It's just, anyway. So after being in Cairns Hospital for about 10 days with pancreatitis, they took a, what do you call it? Like a swab. And had it tested. I went home and then I got called to the hospital to see a surgeon to be told that I had pancreatic cancer, and it was very urgent that they operated pretty much straight away. They couldn't do it in Cairns Hospital because they didn't have the equipment, although they had the surgeon there, but they didn't have any equipment to be able to do it. So the surgeon had a mate, a surgeon at Townsville Hospital. So in the meantime, during this first time, Kimberly, my daughter, came up for a while, and then Darren, my son, came up, and I went from, I got the train from Cairns down to Townsville, which was a 5-hour train trip. I went down there by myself. I was met by an old friend that I had kept in touch with through Facebook, that I'd met when I was a little kid at Sunday school. And thank goodness she was the only one I knew in Townsville. Her name's Cheryl. And she picked me up from the station. I went back to Cheryl's house, stayed there for a couple of nights while I was having tests at Townsville Hospital. Then Samantha came up and stayed a couple of nights while I actually went into the hospital to have the operation. I was in Townsville Hospital 2 weeks. During that time, it was called a Whipple operation.
So real quick, you've had the back.
Yeah, back pain.
The next day you've gone into Mosman?
No, I had the back pain for
So what's the timeline?
weeks.
So you've had back pain, then you've gone in.
Yeah, then I've gone to Mosman Hospital in the morning.
Yeah.
After a few weeks of having pain.
From having that hospital visit for back to getting told the words you have cancer, was that a few days or a few weeks or?
Probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. And then from being told you have cancer to going down to Townsville is another few weeks.
Yeah, then I went down there. They rushed me through pretty quick to have the operation. It was called a Whipple operation, which is, I was told, is way bigger than an open heart surgery. It's a really big operation. They take out all your innards and then they put them all back in. And anyway, so I had that. And while I was in Townsville Hospital having this big operation, I got COVID, like everybody else in the hospital, and had to stay there a few days longer. Then they didn't want me to go back to Port Douglas because they wanted me to hang around in case something went wrong. So I went back to my friend Cheryl's house and stayed with her for another week. And she was so good. She totally nursed me and looked after me. And then my good friends Sue and Bill from Port Douglas, they drove the 5 hours down and picked me up from Cheryl's house, drove me back home. Then after another couple of weeks of having lots of tests and scans and everything, they started me on 6 months of chemo, where I had to go every Monday morning for 6 months to Cairns Hospital for chemo. And that meant my friends drove me and picked me up, and they put them on themselves on a roster, which was great. So I had about 4 or 5 couples that would take it in turns to drive me down.
It was interesting because we were in the chemo ward this morning and I was looking around and seeing some people who, were on their own, or the kind of people who you look at them in the street in a normal setting and be like, they're probably alone or close to it in this world. And I always wonder, going through what you went through, but having 5 couples willing to drive you and people come up.
I was lucky I had the friends.
Yeah. Did you ever think about maybe people next to you doing the chemo that
have no family?
Yeah, no family, no friends.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did. And they were getting picked up by hospital buses and hospital taxis, and the whole chemo ward, was really sad, actually. It was really sad. It was a very depressing place.
Did you ever meet anyone there?
No, I just think everybody just kept to themselves and just wanted to get in there. And it was 2 hours sitting there in the chair every week, having this chemo pumped into you. And it was just a place that I wanted to get out of because it had this hospital smell, and it was just, the whole thing was depressing.
Yeah. I noticed a few other things today. The nurses obviously, understandably, seem quiet. It's normal for them. But they do little things like have name tags with smiley faces.
Yeah, I know. And they wear those bright scrubs.
Yeah.
And they look really cool. And the doctors wear them too.
Do you like that as a recipient?
Yeah. I think it's good. It gives you something to look at and shows their personalities, really.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah, cool.
So anyway, I did my 6 months of chemo at Cairns Hospital. That took me up until about beginning or halfway through December last year. And then I came down to Melbourne for a week's holiday, I think it was, and after that, went back to Cairns Airport, but then Cyclone had come and I couldn't get home, so that was all drama. I don't want to talk about that, really.
That was the one where the whole road fell into the sea,
and that's
right?
where I slept in the car all night.
That's a crazy story. Tell that story. That's a great story.
Well, I got back after.
So the just for context, you have Cairns, which is the regional centre.
Yeah, that's where the plane flies into Cairns.
Exactly. And then about an hour north is where you live, Port Douglas. And the only way to get there really is this amazingly scenic coastal road stuck between sea and hills.
And it all got washed away and it all collapsed.
Literally washed away.
And I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because it happened basically that day.
So you land on the plane.
Yeah. Well, the cyclone happened about a week or a few days prior. But the road and what have you didn't collapse because the heavy rains came after the cyclone.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And so I got to Cairns Airport and your dad, Darren, left Port Douglas that morning, and we planned that he would leave Port Douglas, drive my car to Cairns Airport that morning, which he did. I flew in the late that day to pick up my car. Well, by the time I got to the airport that day, the rain was so heavy. I had trouble finding my car. I got in the car. There was flooding everywhere. The rain was so heavy. I put the wipers on. I couldn't see. It was getting dark. I rang my daughter, Kimberly, and she said, don't even try driving home in this weather. Go and find a motel in Cairns to stay at.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, good idea. So I went into Cairns. It was about 8 o'clock at night by now, I think. And I was going into Cairns. It was dark. There were heavy rain. There were neon signs flashing. The road was lit up.
It's like a movie.
Horrendous. And I thought, I'm not even going to try and find a hotel. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I'll start heading for home and I won't go too far. I'll just go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I went to some high ground a bit north of the airport that I knew was a big car park that was safe, no trees or anything.
That's Smithfield or? Is that Smithfield?
Yeah, it was near Smithfield, actually. I think it was called Freshwater, the town. Okay. And I just found a big car park and I parked the car there, and by now it's getting on to about 9 o'clock and oh my gosh. So I rang Kimberly because she was in a bit of a frantic state, and I rang her and said, I'm just going to sleep in the car the night. Yeah. Well, she couldn't believe that.
But Dad has come down in the car to leave it at the airport home that morning, perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And you've got into a bloody cyclone.
He got on a plane at lunchtime, went home, and I get there about 8 o'clock at night, into the rain.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I slept in the car that night, and I really didn't sleep. It was pretty bad. And then, so then about 5 o'clock the next morning, I thought, oh, I can see now it's daylight, so I'll start driving home. I got on the road as far as just near Palm Cove on
It's
the
about
highway.
a third of the way.
Yeah, and I thought the cars in front of me were all stopped, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And then they were all turning around because they couldn't get through. The roads were flooded. The police had signs up. So I went into the local shopping centre there, and apart from looking for a toilet, wanting a coffee, it was like about 6. Nothing was open, but I hung around till about 9 o'clock when the shops opened, and I went in and then it was really funny because this guy and his teenage daughter came in, and I started telling them that I slept in the car last night, and he's saying, oh, we can't have that, we can't have that. Well, we've got to make arrangements for you. And I said, well, I can't go back to Cairns. The road's flooded. I can't go forward because the road's flooded.
Oh, so the road back to Cairns had been
Yeah,
flooded
it
by
had
this
flooded
point?
too.
Oh,
I was stuck. I was
wow.
like on an island.
Okay.
And I said, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to obviously stay in the car again. And this guy said, oh, leave it with me. He said, oh, I've got a hairdressing shop in Palm Cove. You can stay there. It's got a shower and toilet. And I said, well, I can't get to it. He said, no, you've got to walk. And I go, well, I can't walk in this weather. So I thought, what? Anyway, he said, leave it with me. And off he went to do his shopping. Anyway, about 15 minutes later, my eyesight is so bad that it's really funny because about 15 minutes later, I thought it was him coming back to speak to me again.
Okay.
But it was another guy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had gone up to him thinking it was the guy. And I thought, where's his daughter? Oh, well. And I said to him, well, I'm still here walking around homeless. And he said, oh, are you? And then I thought, oh, my gosh, it's a different man.
I did not know that part of the story. That's hilarious.
I know. I left that bit out a lot when I was telling people. It was so bad. And he said to me,
what?
And he said to me, can I buy you a coffee? I said, no, I'm fine.
So you've had that first interaction, but you've come to a second random guy.
Another guy. The guy
and just straight up said, I'm homeless.
I know how to pick up blokes, I tell you. You got to look homeless. Wet, dirty, starving, homeless. It was disgusting. I felt disgusting. That's how you pick up blokes. Anyway, so I just said, oh, here I am still wandering around. And then I realised it was a different guy. And he said, can I buy you a coffee? And I said, oh, no, I'm fine. He said, well, can I give you some money? And then I felt really bad. And I said, no, I've got money. I just have to figure out what I'm going to do, where I'm going to stay. So he said, well, just a minute. We can't have you sleeping in your car. Just a minute. I'll ring my wife and see if we can help you. And I'm feeling absolutely terrible. So he rings his wife and he says, oh, I've got this lady here that needs our help. We've got a spare room. Can we give her a bed? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, she's about our age. And I'm looking at him thinking, no, I'm not. Because he was about 25 years younger.
Wow. Yeah.
I felt complimented, but he didn't seem the real me under all my straggly, wet hair and clothing. Anyway, I followed him home to his house.
He probably also thinks you're a bit worse for wear at around 50 years old because you've been homeless or something.
Yeah.
There's plenty of 50-year-olds that do look like you.
They
just had a tough life, you know?
I tell him I was 74, but anyway. So I just went along with it and I followed him home and he said to me, if you don't like my house or you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to, I'm not forcing your hand, but we have a room we can give you. So I go there and it's a beautiful home, brand new, huge home. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I went in and I met the wife and she said, I've got a guest room all made up ready for you. And I'm feeling so ridiculous. And when we walked into the home, the first thing he turned to me and said was, now, have you got any dietary requirements? Because I do the cooking.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, bread and jam and a glass of milk would be fantastic right now. But he told me they were having chicken chasseur for dinner tonight. And tomorrow night they'd have steak with pepper sauce. And is that okay with me? And I'm yeah, that's fine.
Sounds great. Far out.
I stayed with them for 3 nights and they were so kind and lovely. Kimberly rang and said, "Mum, what are you doing? Come back to Melbourne," because I still couldn't get through. And he was so nice, the guy, that the morning of my flight out, Kimberly booked it
So
all.
you didn't even make it to Port Douglas?
No, I didn't even get to Port Douglas. Meanwhile, my husband, Bob, is in a nursing home in Port Douglas because I left him there for a week.
Yeah.
But I got stranded. I had to ring him and say, "Well, I'm not coming to get you."
And
So-
I'm pretty sure he's already a pretty annoying fella. He was like having conspiracy theories in his head, right? That the road hadn't actually gone down. And
yes, and I had somebody I was going to run away with, and I wasn't coming to get him, and oh my gosh, it went on and on and on. So yeah, anyway, so the morning, so Kimberly booked my flight back for me and everything, and said, "I've got you booked on midday flight, blah blah." Told the people tomorrow I'm going, thank you. So when I got up at wandered out to have my gourmet breakfast at about 8 o'clock, the guy, his name's Clyde, he said to me, I've just driven down to the airport to see whether you're going to be able to get through, and you should be able to get through all right. There's a bit of flooding, but you should be able to get through."
No.
So he'd gone 40 minutes down to the airport and back
just to check if the road's
about
open.
6 o'clock in the morning to check the roads were okay for me to drive back down to the airport.
What a legend.
They were so nice. Yeah, they were so nice. Anyway, so I got back to the airport, left the car there.
You did get to return that favour though.
I did. The whole time I'm thinking, what can I do? They wouldn't take any money from me. I did go to the supermarket with him one day and bought a whole lot of groceries and things for him.
Yeah.
Them. But yeah, so I'll tell you about that. But I ended up getting the plane back and I came back down here. But just before I'd left up there, we were talking and something came up because Martin, youngest son, and his wife Claire were going to be going to Cairns to do the Taylor Swift tribute show in a couple of months' time. And I suppose to make conversation, just talked about that. And with that, the wife, her name's Jen, she says, "Oh my God, I know Claire Bowditch. Well, I don't know her personally, but I have been following her and she's just absolutely gorgeous and, oh, I love her." And I said, "Well, they're coming to Cairns." And then I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if Claire can organise some tickets. This will be a good thing. Anyway, as it happened, Claire she rang me like a few hours later to see how I was.
Yeah.
And I said to Claire, "Oh, this lady here, she really loves you. Will you say hello? Will you talk to her?" And so Claire says, "Yeah, sure." So I told Claire where I was and what had happened. Claire's talking to her, and the lady, after a while, got off the phone and she says to her husband, "Oh my gosh, we've got 4 free tickets. Claire's given me 4 free tickets to go to the concert. Oh, I am so excited,
Yeah.
And I rang Claire back and I said, "Thank you. You've just given me a few more hours of,
Hospitality.
Yeah, it was so good. And we all did a few months later when they came up. We did all go to the show and it was wonderful.
So you went with them?
We met them there.
Yeah,
We
cool.
all went that night.
Yeah.
In fact, Charlotte, your sister, was staying with us. So Bob,
That's
Charlotte,
right.
and I went
Yeah,
down
I
and
remember
met
calling you guys.
Jen and Clyde, and we all went to see the show. And it was just really, they absolutely, I mean, we enjoyed it too, but they were so over the moon.
Yeah.
It was so good. And they had 4 tickets, so they asked their friends. So that all happened, and then I came back down to Melbourne. It was just before Christmas, and I thought, well, now I'm going to be in Melbourne for Christmas. I'm down at Phillip Island with Kimberly at Cowes. So I had Christmas Day with Kimberly and Robbie and Robbie's family. And that was all great. Meanwhile, I'm on the phone telling Bob, "No, you'll just have to have Christmas at the nursing home and suck it up because I can't come and get you." And it was a little bit dramatic there for a while. So
So good. So this is 10 months ago Christmas.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Last Christmas just gone.
Yeah, cool. And you've had that 6 months of chemo. This is in the middle of that, right?
Had 6 months. Finished my chemo.
Oh, so once you'd finished your chemo, that's when this happened.
Then I came to Melbourne for a week's
Okay.
holiday and got stuck, and then
Sure,
it all
sure.
happened.
Okay, that's the whole rigmarole.
Yeah.
And then how's the cancer journey and what's been going on?
What
in
happened
life?
after that, when I did eventually get back down there, up there, to Port Douglas, I was due for a scan.
Mm-hmm.
That was roughly January, somewhere
Sure.
there. I had to have a scan to see how it was all going. And it showed that it had grown back, the cancer had grown back. So basically the chemo hadn't worked.
Yeah.
So then they said that I need to do 5 weeks of radiation. Then I was a bit beside myself with all that. So once again, Kimberly said, come down here, stay with me. You've got family down here. We can all help with your radiation and what have you. So every day, every single day for 5 weeks, we drove to Moorabbin Hospital from Cowes, which was about 2.5 hours.
It's mental.
Yeah, and it was... We rewarded ourselves each day going home via McDonald's to get a little ice cream. That was my little reward for doing that big drive.
By the way, and this is so irrelevant for what we're talking about, how much are those ice creams now? Because we were talking about this yesterday. Apparently they're
Wow.
$1.90 for a soft
I
serve.
think they are about $1 something.
I remember
know.
them being 30 cents and
Yeah,
then they
I
moved to
know.
50 cents and then I left the country, I think. But $1.90, that's
I know.
ludicrous.
I know.
Anyway, back
So
onto cancer.
that was our reward. That was our reward for doing the drive and going to the hospital. But it was good. I got that way that, I'd just get there, race in, in there 10 minutes and race out. It was very quick radiation. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I just got into the groove of doing it. And then at some point along the line, I had another scan and it showed that the radiation didn't work either. In fact, I felt like it had blown it all up in all directions because I had the radiation with one little mark on my pancreas. That's where they were honing in on. And when I had the scan after all that, it showed that I have now got, it's grown back in the pancreas. I've now got 2 growths on my liver and in my lower back.
This is the scan we went to a few months ago.
Yeah, you came.
Yeah.
And you came, yeah, that's right. So I was basically told, forget it, we've done everything. There's only one more thing, and that is go on to a stronger chemo and do it all again with chemo, but stronger this time.
So that feeling of it was just one little thing, I did a few months of radiation and it seems to now be everywhere.
Yeah.
What was the idea? Was to just get rid of it?
They marked it with little tattoo dots and they just honed in on here all the time, like 10-minute zap, and out I was gone,
Did they say at the start of that that's likely to fix it, not do anything, or have it spread?
I felt that it was going to fix it.
What did they say?
They wouldn't tell me anything. The doctors all along the way have never said anything. They won't commit to anything. I don't think they're probably allowed to. And everybody's different. So,
because that's an interest. I've seen very few of your interactions with the doctors and whatnot. But how has that been of
not knowing, being not told things?
Yeah.
Well, not good. I've had to say, please tell me. I want to know the truth. I want you to tell me how long I've got to go. I want to know. And I've really got to push the point. And then they'll say, like, you've got between 9 and 18 months. They'll say things like that to me. And that's if I don't do anything. But then if I do something, still might not work.
Yeah.
I can still get really sick. Then they talk about the quality of life. Which way do you want to go? Do you want to have maybe 6 or 12 months or whatever of good living? Or do you want to have chemo and get really sick and maybe it'll give you a bit extra? I felt that if it gives me an extra 1 or 2 months, I wouldn't be bothered doing it. If I knew it was going to give me an extra 3 or 4 years, I would do it. But they won't answer. They don't know. They just got no answers.
Yeah.
So where I'm at now is, so I started today my 2nd round of chemo. So I'm just going to, I think I have a scan in 3 months. And I think I'm going to wait and see what that answer is.
Yeah.
If it looks like it's got better, I'll probably keep doing it. If it looks like nothing's happened and nothing's changed, and I'm sick, I don't think I'm going to continue it.
You might as well just cash in and be like, okay, whether it's 3
Yeah.
months or 9 months or 1 year left,
Yeah.
I'd rather enjoy that
Yeah.
than deal with this.
So it's all a bit surreal. I feel like I'm just going through I feel as though so much has happened in the last 18 months. I can't even get my head around it.
Yeah.
So I'm now living down at Cowes. I moved out of Kimberley's house. I've got my own unit down there now, which is nice. It's lovely, actually. I've got loads of people, friends and family visiting and staying, which is really nice.
How, because, and I hope this doesn't come across as in the wrong way, but at least how I view the run of your life, you've been the kind of person who's always there to support others, and as a mother, as a wife, as a assistant, in any kind of capacity, it's usually putting someone else, like holding someone else forward. And in that's obviously beautiful and amazing. What that, I guess, doesn't allow for is feeling like you have total control over one's own destiny and one's position.
No.
So now when, grandpa's out of the picture in a nursing home and you kind of are having to lead your own life, and then some big challenge like this comes up and you're the one having to fight it. How has that been, of having the control and maybe not having a lifetime of practice and knowing what to do with that control? Did you understand?
I've always got great enjoyment out of helping and doing for others. I've been that sort of person that always wanted to make other people happy, and I find it easy to do for others. I just hate people doing for me. I think I'm putting everybody out. I get really upset about that. And I've got friends that say to me, oh, it's your turn to be looked after. Well, that's so kind, but it's very hard to accept that. It makes me feel like I'm really weak and I can't cope, but I'm really trying. I'm trying to get on with everything and just sort of, in a way, ignore. I mean, I don't feel there's anything wrong with me. Sometimes I just get depressed because I know there's something wrong, but I don't feel as though there's anything wrong with me. I feel well. I still got energy. And then I get told, oh, you've got this and that, and you've got so long to live, and all this business. Is like, what? I can't believe that.
Do you think it's almost harder to deal with the fact that there's such a difference between how you internally feel and what people and doctors and your bodies saying is the truth? It's almost difficult to handle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't believe it's happening, so I just keep being positive, I suppose. I suppose it's the only word I can think of. I mean, I wonder, I feel that it's going to hit me and I'm going to come crashing. I don't know when. I feel like, okay, so you're telling me all this is going to happen to me. I mean, what does it mean? Does it mean I'm going to within a couple of days, I'm going to get really sick and it's going to hit me? I don't know how it's going to work, how it's going to pan out at the end. I don't know. That's a bit of a worry. I've got an advantage that I can get things done and organised. And it's taking a long time to get things done and organised, I tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that sometimes I can be in such a mess with everything.
What do you mean by things done and organised?
Well, just getting my banking organised, the housing, just all personal stuff.
Organised for
for when I die.
Yeah.
I've got time. I've got time to do it. I've even written out my funeral.
Right. Yeah. Any spoilers?
Hey?
Any spoilers? Anything you could?
Well, you're going to sing. But anyway, I've got songs picked out. I've got time now to do all this. I've written. I'm nearly finished writing my journal that Kimberley wanted me to do. She got me to get all my recipe books up to date and rewritten. She's bought me all these albums to put all my photos in, to write on the photos who they all are and everything. I said to Kimberley, what do you think, I'm going somewhere or something? You're getting me so organised, I mean, I've got that advantage that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
My grandmother crossing the road when she was 63 got hit by a car.
Yeah.
That's it. Life's over. So she didn't have time to do anything, say goodbye to anyone, plan anything.
That is also, though, because the planning and organisation is really just for the people you leave behind.
Yeah,
And that's, again, that version of you that feels that strength and confidence
yeah,
from serving others.
yeah,
So I imagine that must be quite nice of a thing to hold on to.
yeah.
Have you ever thought deeply, or do you know where that comes from? That feeling of, if I'm now receiving help and support, I am weak, and you're so much more comfortable in that service. Do you know where that's from?
No, no, no. I'm very much my father's daughter, but no.
Mm.
I've always been one to. I've really enjoyed giving and really hated receiving. I don't know why, but no, I don't know.
Have people, I mean, when you hear that, it seems like such a position which is such a beautiful position, such a strong position, but one that can be easily manipulated. Have you ever felt life or people or things have taken advantage of that fact?
No, no, I don't quite know what you mean, but I don't.
As in, if someone enjoys giving and hates receiving,
Yeah.
you can see how that.
People would take advantage of
Exactly. Yeah.
that. I probably haven't noticed it, but if they do, so be it. I haven't noticed it, but it's always been easier for me that way round. I think that's why I enjoyed, the last 10 years or so running the bed and breakfast in Port Douglas, having guests come, looking after guests, getting them their breakfast every day, organising their tours, organising their restaurants. I just loved looking after the people and making them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got enjoyment out of doing that.
Was that the most fulfilling job you've ever had?
Probably yes. Yes.
Because how did that even start?
Well, we'd been going up to Port Douglas for about 10 years prior for holidays, and we'd stayed at different resorts and what have you. And then one particular year we stayed in this unit, and I said to the lady when she came to get the key, I said to her that, I said, if you ever want to sell this unit, I said, my husband, he would buy this in a flash, because it's being a builder and that he appreciated
Was it frangipani?
the quality. It was a unit in the front.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was one of the units in the front.
The one that Kim eventually
Which
bought.
eventually, Kimberly, my daughter, eventually bought that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, she bought it eventually.
Yeah.
But at the time, the lady said, no, I'm not selling. But she remembered I said that, and she rang me about 6 months later. And she said, I'm not selling, but the house behind, it's a bigger unit, they're selling. And I said, well, I've got no idea what was behind, because we were just in the front unit on the road, Anyway, I went up there, and Bob didn't come up with me. He was too busy. I went up there and we bought it, and it was built specifically as a bed and breakfast. It had the 3 rooms upstairs, as you know, with each with a bathroom and a veranda. It was built by an architect for him and his wife to actually run it as a bed and breakfast. And they did that for a while, and then they didn't do it. So we didn't buy the house as a business. We bought it as a holiday home. With 3 bedrooms upstairs, we thought, oh, well, all the kids can come up and have the room, and, blah, blah, blah. But no, everybody was working, and we didn't get many visitors then. And we eventually we had a holiday house to start with for a couple of years, and then we eventually moved up there. And I just said after a few months, I said, I wonder if I can start doing a bed and breakfast then. It's all set up.
So was that just because a few months is pretty quick? Is that just because you got bored?
Yeah, well, probably. Yeah, maybe.
The mic just dropped.
Is that there? Well, we had the house for a couple of years before I did
Pause talking.
Before I did the bed and breakfast. So I just decided I'd do it. Yeah, probably. I thought, oh, what am I going to do?
Because even that, like, that's such a common, and like, we're maybe getting into the weeds, but I'm interested. You've lived your whole life in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne,
Yeah.
Ringwood, Verona, Churnside Park, that whole thing, and you got friends and
Yeah,
daughters went to schools and sons went to schools and all that.
yeah.
And then to suddenly
To go.
pack up shop, retire, okay, we're going up to Port Douglas.
Yeah.
How even was that? That's something I've never actually asked you about, but how was that, to leave it all behind in a sense? Obviously it's still there, but
I didn't think too far down the track. I didn't think it out
right.
enough. It was a matter of selling Churnside and buying up and moving up there. We sold that and moved up. We had a choice at the time. We could have, it was either keep Churnside, sell up there, one or the other.
Because you bought them both and then you had to sell one.
Well, we had them both. And I thought, well, one's got to go at this point.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to live in Queensland. So I didn't think far enough down the track that the kids would all be working and they'd be too busy to come and see us. I didn't think it out enough
How quick was that decision made?
to just move up permanently.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Because when we sold Churnside, we actually then rented for a year
In Croydon Hills.
in Croydon Hills before we moved up there. There
Yeah.
was a whole lot of moving around going on.
Good place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but anyway, when we're up there, I took myself off to a school in Cairns. I drove down to Cairns every day for a few weeks, learning how to run a bed and breakfast
Really?
and do the books and
Wow.
yeah. So I did all that, and then put up a website, and all of a sudden it started happening. People were coming, and the first year we were so busy, I didn't know what to charge people.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to
Yeah,
charge.
you charge like super cheap, right?
So I looked at what other people in town. There were about 5 other B&Bs, like not Airbnbs, proper bed and breakfasts.
Mm.
There were about 5 others in town. So I thought, well, I looked up to see what they were all charging,
And charge the average.
and I went with the flow a bit, you know.
Yeah, classic.
I'll put it up a little bit because my building looks a bit better,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do it better, you know.
Yeah.
And the first year, well, we put everybody else out of business.
Did everyone else stop?
Over the next 2 years, we were the only ones in town.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were like that for 10 years.
Jeez.
And the first year, we
Massive,
were so
huge.
busy. The next year, I nearly doubled the price.
Yeah,
I
wow.
put the rooms up
Far out.
because I thought, well, I don't need to be so busy. I don't really need this heavy work.
Yeah.
I'll just put the price up.
Yeah. And
They still kept coming.
Yeah, exactly. They're probably like, oh, this is way better than we think.
And
Yeah.
they still kept coming. It was fun.
You must have been making good money then.
It was fun. We were making good money. It was fun because the world was coming to us. We didn't have to travel. I didn't have to think about going overseas or travelling because everybody came to us.
Mm. Yeah.
It was fun. And you came up quite a
Yeah,
few times, didn't you?
that's
I mean,
heaps.
over the 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So did Charlotte.
Yeah, I
and-
came once or twice a year for 10 years.
that's right.
Yeah.
So you could see how it was. You would have met people, and
Yeah, I remember.
it was fun. I did enjoy that time.
Grandpa has captive hostages for his
Yeah,
conversation
well,
at
he
breakfast.
got a good breakfast every morning too. Yeah, there's probably things I'd do a bit different now if I did it again.
What kind of things?
I wouldn't have him sit there and have breakfast, have his breakfast with the guests every morning and
Babble on.
telling them how wonderful the town is and how all these lovely tours they can do. And he was no, there's a few things I would have done different now.
Maybe he's allowed the first breakfast he's allowed. So every guest gets him once. But if you
that's
have him
true.
more than once, it's probably too much.
But then what is he going to do? Or what was I going to do with him?
Stick him out the back.
Go for a walk and go back to bed.
Yeah.
But no, that was fun. So, you know, and then we were very lucky, I suppose, that COVID hit and a whole lot of things happened and we ended up selling that and getting out of that. And we're only in our new place up there for 2 years when I got sick.
Mm.
So it's all been a bit of a roller coaster.
How's it been? Because Grandpa's kind of had his own health decline journey almost in parallel to yours, right? Very different direction, but
Yeah. he's always been way sicker, but that's okay.
Hmm.
I can let him be way sicker.
Oh, so he said he's the sick one.
He's a sick one. He's a
Right.
sick one.
Yeah. But
You
what's
know.
he actually got? And what's actually going wrong with him?
He's got front lobal dementia, and his dementia's getting a bit worse now, and he has now been diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Right.
But there's not much they can do with that now. I mean, he's 84. You can't, nothing's been said about any treatment or anything. It's just something that a lot of guys get, and
Well,
they have
prostate cancer, from my memory, has a 98% survival rate
Well,
over 5 years.
yeah.
So don't have to
And
worry about it too much.
pancreatic cancer's got about, I think less than 14%. Well, it's very rare. It's the one that you can't fix, they keep telling me. So
Yeah.
it's like, once again, I can't believe that. But anyway, yeah.
So, because you've just painted a pretty idyllic picture of 10 years of living in Queensland, of having the world come to you, of having meaning, but also money, and it's all great. And then to have in the last 2 years it almost get ripped away from you quite a vicious way.
Yeah.
What have been the guiding principles you've used to not just completely throw in the towel of life and still take it on and still find that positivity? And
Well,
what do you look towards?
I don't know. I've just got to go with it all, and just try and be positive and just not throw the towel in and just keep going. And I think it's basically my kids and my grandkids that keep me going.
Yeah.
If I didn't have you guys around, well, we'd probably be all different. So a lot's happened, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. We might have that as part 1 of Leona Joe Brown.
Well, I'd like to think I could come back again in a couple of years' time and talk to you.
Yeah. Oh, we'll do it every month.
Oh, really? Oh, no, you get sick of me.
Nah, it'll be a mini-series.
Yeah. But anyway, I can only give it a go. Or I don't do it, and I try all the natural medicines and things that a lot of people have thrown at me, and which I appreciate. I like people's help and ideas, and the things I've done and tried and taken, and are still doing it as well,
Yeah, before we wrap up, I'd just like to get into that briefly. You know me. You know how I've had this little hippie journey. So I'm all for, I've got plenty of time and energy for natural alternatives.
Yeah.
In saying that, I'm not jumping 2 feet from Western into alternative medicine. The one thing that does strike me, even in the language you have used for yourself, is that Western medicine is very bad at saying this is what will happen, this is how long you have. So it's hard it refuses to be emotional. It refuses to tell the story of how it will fix you, of how it works. It's so scientific and so logical that it's very hard as a emotional human creature to connect with the idea of Western medicine, I believe. On the flip side, the natural remedies, I'm sure, have plenty of scientific backings and whatnot, but they're fundamentally rooted in an emotional story of this is the connection to land or feelings or whatever.
Yeah.
And not to say it doesn't work, but being more based in a spiritual, naturalistic setting, it's so much easier to tie your emotions into this is what's going to save me, this is going to be the thing. Have you noticed that in yourself, that it's almost easier to believe in that because they let you believe in that, where the Western medicine it might work better, but it refuses to let you believe in it?
Yeah. I don't know. I often think I don't know which way to jump. Like, I still think nothing has been proven. You can't say, oh, so-and-so's done all this natural medicine and had these certain tea leaves and tablets and look, they've got through all this, and only with all natural medicines they've got through all this. Nobody's said that. Nobody's come forward and told me that. The same as with all the chemo and what have you, and all those trials and things. Nobody has come and said this is fixed. So what do I do? I don't know.
Does it feel like there's very few, if any, beacons of hope? That 14% survival rate of pancreatic cancer, where are they?
Yeah, well, that's right. I don't think that's. I think that's probably a high percentage, actually.
Well, it's always 5-year survival rate, but did they die in the 6th year?
Yeah, but when you sort of Google it and everything, I mean, it's what I Google a lot, trying to read everything on Google, but it's all 18 months. It's like, it's not even that. It's not. So I don't know. I just, I get to the point of I don't know which way to jump. I'll try this and I'll try that and I'll do everything, but no. I mean, I can remember saying to you once that you were suggesting that I did all these natural things while I was doing chemo, and I said, yeah, but I'd like to know which was going to fix me. Was it going to be the chemo and the radiation, or was that going to fix me, or was it the natural thing going to fix me? And you said, well, what does it matter, Grandma? At least you're going to get fixed. It doesn't matter which fixes you. You know?
That's the way I've always seen it. If I were... And it's impossible for me to fully say this because it's such a high stakes position to be in, literally your whole life. And you can't say, if I were in your shoes, because you're not in your shoes, so you don't know.
Well, that's what my friends have just said to me, like, it's your decision, and I don't know what I'd do. It's your decision, and it's great, but sometimes I'd like a bit of help,
Right. The one thing I've always thought to myself, if I were in your shoes, which again is a kind of non sequitur, is that, as you kind of said before, it hasn't sunk in that what's going on. You feel fine, so you don't believe it.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing maybe is to even irrationally believe it. Geez, I am going to die. I need to do something. I need to send it in one direction.
Right.
I'm just going to throw everything at the wall. And if I do the wrong thing, say I take the natural remedies and the chemo at the same time, and that's actually poisonous and bad, so I die. Okay, but I was also going to die.
I've tried it all anyway.
If I do nothing, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So I might as well try everything, and I still may die. I may even die quicker.
Yeah. I know, but I've given it all a shot.
Yeah, but it's the only chance.
Yeah, I've given it a shot. That's all I can say is I don't know what I would tell people either.
Does it feel weird? Because I think most humans, most of us, including myself, can't really conceptualize death anyway. So does it feel weird to be able to pin it, oh, this is going to kill me?
Yeah, it feels weird, but the only thing I really, really hope that I do not die in my sleep. I do not want to die in my sleep. No, I want to know that I'm dying.
Okay.
I know I don't.
Your throat cut.
I want to know that I'm dying. I want to lie there and say, I'm dying now, goodbye. Okay. I want to know that. I think it would be terrible to die in your sleep. So I don't get to wake up and know I'm dead, do I?
It's a non-event. Well, hang on, was anyone watching that? Because I will not be doing it again.
Well, I don't, now when I wake up of a morning, I'm so happy I've woken up. Oh, thank God I didn't die in my sleep, because I wouldn't have known. Well, I won't know anyway, but I'd rather know that I've died than not know that I've died.
Oh, it's so strange.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I want to know it.
Is that just out of curiosity?
I just want to know because I don't know if it's out of curiosity. It's going to make me feel a hell of a lot better, I think, knowing that I've...
I don't think it's going to feel anything. It'll make you feel anything. I think that's the whole point.
I know.
It's all a mystery, eh?
I know. No matter what, I do believe in, not so much the afterlife, but I do believe in that I might have a short window there that I can come back and I do believe that there's something might happen before I pass over, so to speak. And I believe in that because I've had so many incidences of people visiting me, etc., when just after as soon as they've died. And I think that I want to do that.
Yeah. What comes to mind when you say that?
That I want to do that.
Yeah.
That
What are you talking about? Like what?
Oh, that I want to. I want to come back and let my friends and my family know that I am still around and I was watching and I have come and but there is a little bit of something there after I die.
Yeah.
Before I totally fade away.
So what are you going to do? How do you do it?
I don't know.
What stories have other people done that to you?
Yeah. That's probably another whole story.
Is that okay? Yeah, go on. What?
Oh no, I don't take everybody's time.
They can click away whenever they want. This is.
Oh well, there's been lots of incidents that's happened to Kimberly too. She's very much like me in that sense of believing, I guess. I don't know. I think.
So what's the story that comes to mind?
Oh, there's a couple, but like when my dad died.
Yeah.
That was an interesting story because he was at home and the doctor and family were all telling me that he's dying. He's not got long to go. And I didn't believe them.
Okay.
And so that night I said, bye, Dad, see you tomorrow. But it was like, the weird thing was about 1 o'clock in the morning, our house alarms went off. And I went and rang up the company. We had a sticker on our window that when the house alarm goes off to ring this number, and security alarm. So I went and rang the number and tell them the alarms are going off. How do I turn it off? So I rang up the company and they just said to me, "You're not connected. You were connected, but you haven't been connected for a few years."
Yeah, just watch your hands.
What's that?
It's a mosquito.
And I said, well, I didn't think I was connected. I didn't think that I'd sort of paid the last few years' bills because I didn't see it necessary. And they said, no, you haven't been connected for a while. And I said, okay, well, I don't know. He said, oh, it'll probably just ring out, So I would go back to bed and it stopped. And about a couple of minutes later, it started again. And I thought, oh, for heaven's sake.
And your dad is in hospital?
No, he was home.
He's home?
He's home. He died at home. And we'd been to see him that night. But he was not well.
But he was in the same home as the alarms, no? Or in a nursing home?
No, he was in their home in Baronia.
Oh, and your house was going... Okay.
Churnside. Our Churnside house had the alarms going off.
Okay.
Yeah. So a couple of minutes later, they go off again. And I thought, this is ridiculous. What's going on? Anyway, it eventually stopped again. And I thought, this is crazy. We're not connected, but the alarms are going off. And it was about 6 o'clock that morning, about 6 o'clock, my mum rang and said Dad had passed through the night.
Wow.
So I felt that was
That's so
a signal.
Creepy, hey?
It was creepy. I felt that was a signal. Kimberly had him visit her.
How was that? How did that go down?
She was lying in bed one night and she knew there was somebody in her room. And she opened her eyes and standing at the foot of her bed was my dad, her pa. He was standing there.
What?
And I said to her...
Like a phantom?
Just standing, yeah. Well, she just saw him standing there. And I said to her, why didn't you say, hi, Pa, what do you want? Or why didn't you talk to him? She said, I was too scared. Yeah. She said, I just snuck down under the sheet and hope he'd go away. She said, I was really scared.
Did part of her think it might be a home intruder?
No, because she could see it was her Pa.
Okay.
She could see him. And she had floorboards. And he had a certain shuffle when he got old. Yeah. And she heard him shuffling down out and up the passageway off. Out the bedroom and up the passageway, she heard him shuffling off.
Yeah.
So she was a bit cross with herself that she couldn't bring herself to say,
that is so
hi,
scary.
Pa, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she's had a few incidences with people like that with people that she doesn't even know. She's asked me, do I remember a little girl who came into her room? I said, no, I don't remember a little girl.
And there's the paint one you were telling me about.
Oh, the one with my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend, yeah, that was the night. We went to her funeral. And then that night, next morning, that night she came to visit me, and I didn't realise it because next morning there was all these little black marks all over the carpet, which I didn't know what they were. I felt them. It was like little bits of black oil all over the carpet, up the side of my bed, and I thought, what is all this going on? What's happened here? This was the night of the funeral, and I found all this black oily stuff next morning, and anyway, I thought, I wonder if she's come to visit me because she used to wear a lot of mascara and eye makeup, black stuff all over her eyes.
Yeah.
And it was though she'd cried and it was blobbing all over the carpet.
Oh, wow.
And I actually rang up my psychic about a month later. I have a woman I ring up and she said, oh, has she come to visit you? And I said, oh, I don't think so. And I wasn't thinking of the black marks. And she said, oh, she's going to come and visit you in a room. The room's going to have new carpet on the floor, and it's going to be a room with floor-to-ceiling mirrors.
Hmm.
And I said, oh, I don't know anything about floor-to-ceiling mirrors in the room, and I don't know what you're talking about. When I spoke to my sister, because it was actually her house that happened at, we were staying at, my sister said, well, that bedroom has floor-to-ceiling wardrobe sliding mirrors. And I said, oh, my gosh. So it would have been her visiting.
So it was then that you made that connection of the mascara?
Yes. Then I thought, because I hadn't really thought about it much. I didn't really want to believe it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, so she did come and visit me. That room has got floor-to-ceiling mirrors and that little bits of black oily spots all over the carpet. I wish that there was some way I could have taken it to be analysed, picked it up on a glass and taken it to a chemist and said, what is this stuff?
Yeah.
Would have been really freaky if they'd said eye makeup, wouldn't it?
Have you, because going back centuries, right? It's always witches.
Yeah.
And the woman of the village and whatnot. Have you ever heard of guys who are able to have these experiences?
No.
'Cause it seems a lot more open and available for girls.
I think women might have had more of an open mind or might be, no, I don't ever hear about a guy having it or seeing it. No, but anyway.
Interesting.
I think that's enough. We don't want to bore people anymore.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, we can end now.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Part 1.
I think that's enough. Turn it off.